According to the State of the Global Islamic Economy report produced by Reuters, Muslim consumer spending on clothing is expected to reach $368 billion by 2021. And that's a 51% increase from 2015. And of that spending, modest fashion purchases will be about 18%. And yet, the industry still seems hesitant to create imagery and clothing that meets this growing market need, especially in high fashion. One person who has been leading the way in this movement is Carine Roitfeld. Interestingly, Carine is known as the fashion editor with the sexy French aesthetic. But over the past year, she has been working with Halima Aden, the first hijab-wearing model signed by the agency IMG, putting her on the cover of her magazine and breaking Halima into catwalk shows. But along the way, they have faced challenges as well. And I asked Tim Blanks to talk to both of them about what they have learned by working together and where the industry should go when it comes to modest fashion. So please help me welcome Carine and Halima.
I'll sit over here.
I think between these two women, you have a wealth of experience that's it's almost incredible, the lives that these two people have lived and the way that they've come together over this issue, which I think for a lot of people is still a very unknown one. So I would love you, Carine, to tell us right off the bat, what is modest fashion?
You know, I'm French, as I tell you. Modest is very different in French than in English. Modest is about the way of feeling. It's not a way of clothing, except maybe Mr. Alaya was modest both sides. So modest for me is when you maybe very sincere with yourself, when you're wearing, when you feel suits you the best, you feel the more comfortable, and you don't try to be someone else, you just try to be the person you are. Is my feeling about modesty. It will be more but sincerity in a way.
And so when you saw Halima for the first time, why did she register so strongly with you? You put her on the cover of your magazine.
It's my, Evelyn, with my production, showed me this picture of Halima was making a competition of beauty, of fashion. Exactly.
Miss Minnesota,
exactly.
USA.
And she was not the winner, no?
Nope.
She did not win. And she showed me that picture, and my God, she's so beautiful. My first instinct, I'm a very instinctive person, you know, and very spontaneous person. She's so beautiful. I never see that style of beauty. I really want to do a story with her. Let's come into New York and make a story with Mario Sorrenti. I didn't know yet I will put her on my cover, you know. I never know in advance. But I was very intrigued by her beauty, and she was different than the other model. So, and I never have honestly, I never have a friend with a hijab like her. And it was a good way for me to meet her, but because when you meet people, you understand them, you're not frightened by them, and you feel they're totally like you. That's it.
Did you have any sense that it was a brave thing to do, to put Halima in her hijab on the cover of your magazine?
As I tell you, I'm a fearless person. If I think too much, you not do things. And because it's my own magazine, I don't have to ask someone above me, can I, or can I not, or cannot oh, I cannot do that. And I'm sure if I were president, would say, don't do that, maybe it's risky, you're going to have problems. No. For me, she's beautiful. Oh, the cover disappeared. And she was fantastic on the cover. And it was, I have two discoveries this same issue. I have Halima on one side, and I have Paris Jackson on the other side. It was the first time that Paris on the cover too. So I think for a cover, it was quite a strong one.
Well, I think Halima's story embodies so much of what we've already heard today. The fact that you were a Somalian refugee, well, your family was Somalian refugees. You were born in Kenya. You immigrated to America. You were raised in Minnesota. You entered Miss Minnesota, the first woman to ever enter that pageant in a hijab, probably the first woman in the United States to do that, right?
Yeah, in the whole pageant.
In the whole pageant. And the following year, there were 6 other girls.
7.
Seven other girls wearing hijabs in this competition. I mean, this is a literal example of not a taboo, but of a major shift in consciousness. So I'd love to know how that played out with you in your community, with your family.
That was a big no-no in my family, my community. In fact, I got a lot of pushback from the Muslim community because it was something new and it was something different. And I think change kind of scares people sometimes. And just like, I wanted to participate because I never saw myself different than other Minnesotans. You know, I was raised there. I do identify as Somali American. So it was just a no-brainer for me to go and just try the pageant. You know, why shouldn't I be in that space? Why shouldn't I try? Especially when there's scholarships involved and, you know, just the opportunity to make new friends. But again, because there's never been a hijab wearing woman or, you know, girl to compete, it made headlines. And that's what really propelled my modeling career, because I took the first step and I did something different, you know? Not a lot of girls would think to go and do something because you don't, that was something that was used against me is, okay, you shouldn't do this pageant because you're the first and because there's never been anyone else that should tell you that it's a no-no. But this year there's been 7 girls wearing a hijab just in my home state. There's girls in London, all over like America who are now competing wearing hijabs, kaftans, clothing that they're comfortable with, and the community is behind them. So I think we need people to just go and be the first because you're opening the doors for the next wave of women.
Now, your mother made huge sacrifices for your education over the years, and obviously for you to enter a beauty pageant wasn't necessarily the path she had envisaged for you. How did you manage to persuade her to let you do this?
I told her 2 days before the pageant. But of course, she saw it on the news and I had to come clean. But it's different. Like how my mom is like all about school and, you know, like we were born in a refugee camp and we came here and, you know, like education is just such an important thing, especially to refugee communities, because why not? You know, you have the opportunity to be educated, go back home, potentially educate this next generation of young girls. So that was not something she wanted me to let go of. But I just spoke at Princeton, and I think that's important too, right? So modern...
I mean, in terms of groundbreaking, what has happened since then? What has happened, say, in the rest of the fashion world, which isn't just editorial, it's also shows and you know, the whole machine of fashion?
I'm going to give Carine a lot of credit because she took a risk, you know, just... It's a risk, you know. I know even a year ago, I could never pick up a magazine and flip through the pages and see somebody wearing a hijab. You know, that was just something that was not possible. And to put me on the cover, not having, I've never even shot nothing. Like, I've never even been photographed before a CR fashion book. So that was a major risk to take, but she did it anyway, and that's, you know, like that's what I'm hoping people will understand. Sometimes you just have to take risks because now a lot of women are feeling represented. And let me tell you, like when you're not represented, the only times I saw somebody dressed like me for the most part was on CNN, and believe me, they weren't doing anything that I approve of. So that's not accurate. That doesn't depict the majority of Muslim women. That definitely does not share my story. And I think now more than ever, our voices need to be heard as Muslim women, because a lot of times we are talked about, but we aren't given the opportunity to speak for ourselves.
Carine, do you think it's, being a little more pragmatic, do you think it's also a way to access a new readership that we are told about the size of the market in the Middle East? That Vogue Arabia has launched. There was a fuss with Gigi Hadid on the cover in a hijab. But did you see it with your magazine as being a way to talk to a new readership, or was it just the beauty of Halima's
Honestly,
face
for
that
me,
had
it
swayed
was
you?
really the beauty of the face. But after I bring Halima on one way, because when I like someone, I want her everywhere with me. So I bring in all the fashion show I was working on. And the first one you did was Kanye West, no?
Kanye West.
Yes, and you make her to rehearsal for hours because she doesn't know how to walk
I did
with
not
high
know.
heels, and she has very small feet. But look at her today. She has high heels and doing very perfectly. So it was your first show ever, no, Halima?
Yes.
And after, I asked her to come to Milan. And I asked her to work for Max Mara, And immediately Mr. Maramotti, yes, great. I think it's fantastic. So maybe it's true. Me, I just think about the beauty, to find a new girl that I think was extremely beautiful. But maybe in the mind, it's open new customers for them. So it was very, in terms of business, I'm sure it was a good thing for them too. So they were open the gate, and I think you give, you receive. And I'm sure they have more and more customers wearing hijab, want to wear Max Mara clothes. They think it's perfect look.
But Max Mara actually designed for you.
No,
No.
she wears a normal coat.
Normal clothes.
Nothing designed
But
for her.
I will say, in his mood board, he had the picture of the model and he put a hijab on her. And when we asked, he's like, I wanted you to walk the show and I wanted to see how it would match up.
Yeah.
And last season was, winter is much easier to dress because it's more long and stuff, right?
And it's a bit longer, I will say.
And yes, longer. But spring tends to be a little bit harder, and that's what I saw this past season. But Max Mara, that was the show, only show that I walked in, and boy, did I feel special because he already knew, like, I was able to walk. And when I posted it on Instagram, what really caught my attention was all the girls that were commenting, and now that they're following, they want to keep up with all the shows that I'm in and all the campaigns that I'm doing. One girl specifically commented, thank you to Max Mara, because when he keeps your wardrobe requirements in mind, he keeps us in mind, and now this Muslim shopper will keep Max Mara in mind. And I took a screenshot and I sent it to him.
Publicity for Max Mara.
Yeah, but see, it's just so good. It's good for the women. It's good for us. It's just...
And you know what was extraordinary, I think, for me, is what, when you don't know people, you don't understand them, so sometimes you can be a bit frightened. They're different than you, so you say, oh, maybe she's different, I don't know. And finally, once you go in the cabin between there was Gigi, there was Bila, and all the other girls, so it was the first time, and she came a bit sharp with a big smile. They all jump on her like the new, the new one coming, and they really protect her and all talk to her. And after they come to me and say, okay, we're so happy you bring Halima with us, because maybe we never met her, maybe we never know her, and now we love her and we're so happy. And they said thank you to me to bring Halima. So it was very interesting in this world to bring Halima, because the other girl come to her immediately and she loved her.
So were you surprised by how welcoming the fashion world was? I mean, you knew nothing about fashion.
No, they were like, Mario Sorrenti shooting you. Google Mario Sorrenti.
But the same day you felt, but you remember you were very happy because the day Paris came, and Gigi came, and I don't know who was us, who were so happy to say, oh my gosh, because I'm in love.
Yeah.
You can
I knew all the girls. I knew Gigi, Candace, Ashley Graham.
And she came,
The photographers and designers.
It's a bit the same when I starting years ago now to use what you say curvy girls. In French, we say curvy girls for fashion. People say, why are you going to do that? It's too different. And funny, I say, no, they're beautiful like other women. Maybe the fashion clothes did not fit them, but for me, it's a beautiful woman. I find to make a way to photograph them in fashion in my magazine. I did this for years and years ago. And look now, it's Ashley Graham. She was a more expensive model of today, And Candice Youfin, I really push them from the beginning. Always love diversity. I love difference of beauty. I'm very open mind, always.
But do you think this is a new wave of representation in fashion then?
Totally.
A necessary new wave?
Totally. And I think the young girl just before us, she gave me a big, she's a great talker, and I asked before what she was wearing, but I think it was great, that jacket on her, and I know it was Burberry. And I say, she's opened me eyes, maybe it's someone I have to think, maybe to do something with her, because I think she's beautiful and she has so much charisma. I love her. I will be very happy to do something with her. I love people. I love people in general. I don't like the same sort of people. I'm open to older people, more big people, small people, big ears people, all sorts of people. If there is an attraction, Even when I push Lara Stone, it's not so big, honestly. People say, oh, how can you work with her? She's so curvy. Okay, I can zip up the skirt, but she's so beautiful. She gives me something else than just not closing the zip. It's not a problem for me. When she's inside, it's more important what she's wearing. People are more important in fashion. So we all the designer, but to a woman is always more important for me. And then when I like someone, I always treat them more like actresses than like models. Models are smart.
But,
even the beautiful, they can be smart.
There is a reality. There is this sort of, alternate reality. What kind of pushback did you get on this? What kind of pushback did you have? What kind of pushback did you get?
When you feel less and you push what you want, it's not totally easy because you have very good response, but you have bad response too. And honestly, Halima is very good and very positive, like you have, and I have somewhat not so nice, So I say, I don't care, I keep on. If you believe in what you're doing, you don't care about the other one. You don't care about, you have an Instagram like you, so a public image. People can say what they want. So they talk with no face. It's I think it's not very brave of them to say bad things anonymous this way. I will never do that because I think you have to be brave to talk to someone in front if you don't like it. But you have to support it, It's okay. I think I do what I feel. And I'm happy what I feel. I make a lot of errors, because I'm spontaneous. So
Go through mistakes.
And mistakes too, but it's okay. I'm still there.
Halima, what does modest fashion mean for you and your friends? Like when you go to a mall, for example, in Minnesota, what does modest fashion mean in that setting?
Well, usually, I can't even walk into a store and find everything all in because long skirts, it depends. I was so grateful for maxi skirts when they were trending. So I do this big binge shopping during the summer, spring, because I know winter, it's rough. Yeah, but it's good. I don't know. I just I don't know. I don't know much about fashion, to be honest. I just pick.
But what do you think people misunderstand about the idea?
Yeah, modesty is not just for Muslim women. That's the biggest misconception. In fact, I'm looking at you guys, and a lot of you are dressed very modestly. It's probably because it's cold outside. I'm from Minnesota. We have no choice. We all have to be covered. But it's just it's a global thing, and it's nice to have both spectrums. I like that. There's choice. Women should have the freedom to go and get revealing stuff if that's what makes them feel beautiful, and vice versa. If they want to be more covered up, they should also have that freedom.
I think the most amazing thing you told me last night was that you and your girlfriend shop Victoria's Secret.
Oh, God. Mother. We do.
I mean, you can't judge a book by its cover.
True. I'm wearing all leather, too. I mean,
What do you see... in the nicest possible way.
Right.
What do you see going forward with this? I mean, we're talking about representation. There was... the Business of Fashion did a story about Indian models the other day, and there was a bit of an uptake on the internet about the othering of people, that using people who are not of the, of the culture of white privilege or whatever, others them, sets them aside. I could imagine the same kind of comments being leveled at you with what you're doing with modest fashion, that it's a sort of a lip service being paid to diversity. I mean, we need to see about long-term commitments, but what do you imagine will happen now? I mean, will you stay modeling, or will you go to Princeton, or do, follow your any style that you want to follow?
well, I mean, that's the most interesting thing, right? I started modeling around this time, February. And a lot has happened, and I don't just want to be a model, and I also want to, being a refugee. First of all, thank you guys for all the initiatives, as a former refugee, it's important for me to like give back, especially because this is the thing about refugees a lot of times, right? It's this, they don't share the stories, they don't share a lot of the stuff, a lot of the things that do happen. And as kids, we had food, we had UNHCR, all these amazing organizations, but what was missing, the kids weren't given hope. There was no one, a former refugee, to come back to the camps to tell the kids that one day you'll be out of this and your today is not, like to dream beyond these borders, because as children, every kid deserves to dream. And that's what I think I'm able to do now. I was a refugee, and it's important for me now to like go back and share my story and tell them like I'm doing fashion now. That's so different than what I was, the environment that I grew up in,
Well, we were talking about Adwa Aboa last night with her Girls Talk initiative, and she's reached out to you to work together with her.
Mm-hmm.
It feels to me like there is a new network taking shape of very self-determined young women from all walks of life. But I think the thing they have in common is that at a point in the very recent past, they would have been excluded. And do you feel from your perspective as the editor of a huge and influential magazine that there is this new generation of activist women coming up through fashion who will change the way everybody looks at things?
I think on my side, what they say, I always believe in it. They don't have to talk with me. I was one of the first ones to, as I tell you, to open my door. But yesterday, 2 days ago, I was working with Adwa, and she activist too, and she told me, and I think what she's saying was very interesting, and this generation activist is very, I would say, it's very important because they can say things that maybe me I cannot see because I don't have suffering for what maybe they suffer, what they have to go through. And I think this new generation is smartest than our generation. And they will make a better world. Maybe it's stupid to say this way, but I'm sure it's going to make a better world, a better diversity world. And I don't like this word diversity because when you use this word diversity, it's made a difference. Mm-hmm. I don't like this. Now I think there's a new word. It's not diversity, it's...
Inclusivity.
I don't know, I prefer the diversity.
She's like, no.
Yeah, I don't like diversity. I don't think it's not a nice word. Me always, I don't like that people say, oh, now you're doing a fashion tour, you need a black girl, an Asiatic girl, and a Caucasian girl, they say. Mm-hmm. I hate this, because it means that you need just to be a third. Mm-hmm. I never think this way. It comes automatically to me. There is no, they're all beautiful. You don't have to tell me numbers or to follow a quota. I never think this way. So now people talk about this, for me is very, okay, I think this many years ago, I don't need to hymn for you. But when I listen from a girl from Adwa, it's different. I prefer to listen to this girl than to some people maybe from some business try to be nice and give new rules in fashions.
But don't you feel, I feel that talking to you, what really impresses me is that you are not scared of responsibility. You're not scared to take on the role of the rule breaker, the woman who is going to knock down the doors. And that feels to me, that strength feels to me like something really inspiring and new.
And she's very strong. How old are you, Halima?
20.
20, okay. Come on, she's here 20. 1 year ago, she cannot wear on these shoes. And
when I started modeling, I was in flip-flops.
And she come from a community. It was not easy it's easier for me. I think it was more difficult for her to be in the cover of my magazine. It was more risky regarding her family, maybe, or what your mother think about it, than for me to have some bad text on my Instagram. I think she's much more brave than me to be able to cross this path and to go in fashion and to accept to do a fashion show, to be on the cover. Of course, we respect everything you tell me we have to respect. I learn a lot with you. Mm-hmm. To go on a one-way, she never did before. And regarding, I don't know, your education, your family, I think it was very brave. And I think you opened a gate. So now there were 7 girls in this competition. So she opened wide again. And I think she's very brave for that. Because
and
I'm
what
sure
have you learned about
easy.
Yourself, do you think? What have you surprised yourself with in this whole journey?
Yeah, when you just take the first step, I think that was like what was really challenging for my mom. It was always, why are you doing this when none of the other girls, none of the Somali girls are like doing it? Why can't you just like be like them? Why can't you just stay in your lane, basically, right? Why are you always stepping out? And now I'm seeing like a lot of girls want to do that, and just being able to like, I don't mind taking the blame, if it's gonna help their journey. Like this year, the community was so supportive. Looking into the audience, when I did the pageant, it was mostly negativity because my community didn't understand it. Non-Somalis, non-Muslims didn't understand it. And this year, those girls are being supported. The community came and, they understand it. So we all need those people to go and be the first. And yes, it's going to be much harder, but it's going to be so much easier for the next wave of girls.
Thank you so
brave,
much.
you see, I
yes.
tell you.
One thing, seeing we're doing a live stream, Halima would love Naomi Campbell to teach her how to walk.
Yes!
That's it. That's a challenge. I mean, I hope this will reach Naomi.
Yes.
But she needs to learn how to walk.
I
apparently.
do.
All right. Thank you so much.